Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and click on that like button if you like my video. Also click on that notification bell. Thank you.
Now let's go over our training syllabus and see what exactly are we going to cover in these 3 days. The first day is we going to cover the installation, configuration, file system, and basic commands. So we will start off with a little bit of understanding what Linux is. If you really know what Linux is, just skip through it. Then we will install VirtualBox in our environment. And the reason we need to install VirtualBox because we have to set up a lab. Once the VirtualBox is installed, then we will install Linux, which is CentOS operating system on our virtual machine. Then we'll connect our putty. We download the putty. We connect to a Linux machine through a putty, and then continued on Linux day one, we will learn how to change password, start the introduction to file system, the file system structure, file system navigation commands, which are the three most basic commands of file system navigation. We'll cover the directory listing overview, which means every time you run ls command in your Linux, you will get different fields, and we'll cover each field one at a time. Creating files and directories, what are those different commands? The file system paths, there are different type of paths: absolute path, relative path. Finding files and directories, the wildcards, and of course every day we will have few quizzes, the homework for you to do, and a few handouts for you to read. Day two, we will do the Linux system administration. This is what most of the administrators, engineers in Linux capacity follow every day. And here we will start with the file system permissions. Some of the commands are change mod, change ownership, change group. We'll know how to get help while we are in Linux system. How we could add text to a file without doing a VI editor. We'll learn how to combine commands through pipe. Some of the file maintenance commands that are you really need to know. Everyday commands like copy, remove, move, and making directories. The display commands will display the contents of the file, and there are many different commands that we will learn in that. The filters and text processing, like cut, sort, grep, and many other commands, comparing file, compressing, uncompressing. We'll continue our day two with Linux file editor, where we will learn how to edit a file using VI. Then we'll learn how to manage user accounts by creating user accounts, creating groups, and removing and managing them, switching users, monitoring users, talking to users, and some system utility commands that will help you find out some of the information while you logged in. Day three, we'll get into advanced Linux system administration. Now, this includes the process and scheduling like cron tabs and running system processes. Once you run them, how do we monitor them? How do we monitor those commands? How do we monitor the processes? There are so many different commands that we'll cover. Maintenance command, changing host name, file system information, terminal control keys, kernel we'll talk about. What is a shell? We'll learn basic stuff about shell scripting, and I added one bonus if then shell script if you wanted to get into some advanced level shell scripting. Then continued on day three, we'll learn alias, some history command. We'll enable internet on our Linux machine so we could access the network files and commands. So then we have network interfaces. How do we check the network interface, its status, and its configuration? How do we update our system? And difference between update and upgrades. The system run levels, how to transfer files from one system to another. Message of the day, and disk partition. At the end, always every day we will have quizzes, homework, and handouts. Please don't be scared that there are so many things you will have to cover, but I'm telling you, if you are dedicated enough and spend a few hours every day, you will cover it with me and you will be able to perform many different tasks in Linux.
Welcome to day one. Today we will learn the installation of Linux and its configuration. We will also cover the file system, what are the different type of file systems are out there, what exactly a file system is, also followed by some Linux basic commands. Hey folks, and welcome back. In this video we are going to download and install Oracle VirtualBox software. So, if you go through step by step, the very first step is, of course, we have to open up your internet browser and visit www.virtualbox.org. Then the next step is go to its download page and find where is the download page on the navigation bar, and then you will see the most recent software that you could download. All right, once the software is downloaded, the next step is, of course, to execute it and go through the installation and configuration procedure of the software. Okay, very simple and straightforward. So let's start up our browser. Now, of course, pick the browser of your choice. I'm going to go with Google Chrome. So I'll go type Chrome. And here I will type it in www.oracle, sorry, virtualbox.org, and it will bring me to this page. Let me move this up. All right, this page will give you the welcome to virtualbox.org, some information about it. I want you to go to the navigation pane and right here click on downloads. Okay, when you are on the download page, right here it says VirtualBox 7.0.10 platform packages. Now, depending when you are watching this video, the version might have changed. So it doesn't really matter if the version is changed to a higher version. All you have to do is download this virtual software, the most recent one. Okay, then which platform? Are you using Windows machine where you're going to be downloading this? Then yes, click on this one. Are you using Mac? Are you using other Linux distribution or Solaris distribution? So for us, in our case, we have a Windows machine, so we'll click on Windows host. Okay, once you click on it, it will start the download, and of course, the download process is very fast. It has already downloaded, see right here, and it downloads to my desktop. Okay, so now where is my desktop? So let's go to my desktop. All right, right here on my desktop, you see this is the executable file that it has downloaded. Now go ahead and double click on it so it could start the installation procedure. All right, the first thing is, do you want to allow this app to make changes to your device? Yes, of course, because we want to go through the installation. Okay, next step is welcome to the Oracle VM VirtualBox version setup wizard. This setup wizard will install Oracle VM and so on. Click next. Okay, select the way you want features to be installed. I want you to leave everything default. Now, you could customize it depending on your requirement, but again, since we are doing it for the first time, and this is for our lab, we're gonna leave everything as is and just simply click on next. Warning, network interfaces. Installing the Oracle VM VirtualBox in networking feature will reset your network connection and temporarily disconnect you from the internet. Proceed with installation now. Now, before you click yes, make sure you're not running any type of important downloads or program in the background that will interrupt the network connectivity. If it is, go stop it and then come back and then do click yes. But of course, again, this is a lab. We know we are not running anything, so go ahead and click yes. Missing dependencies, Python core. If you're getting these messages, that's fine. It will install these dependencies as well, so click yes. All right, begin installation, ready to install? Yes, go ahead and click yes or install. Okay, Oracle VM VirtualBox 7010. Please wait while the setup wizard installs Oracle VM VirtualBox. This may take some time. Of course, for me, it's took literally like 15 seconds. All right, Oracle VM VirtualBox installation is complete. Click Finish, Start Oracle VirtualBox. If it's checked, then it will start the program right away. So click Finish, and it will start the Oracle VirtualBox application right now. All right, let's see if it is running on our tray or task manager. Yes, it is. See right here, it is running. Okay, so here it is Oracle VM VirtualBox. This is how the Oracle VirtualBox after installation, the portal will look like. Now, this portal allows you to create a new virtual machines, add existing ones if you already have it, import it, export it, and all these features you could go through one by one and understand. But of course, our main focus of this course is not to learn the virtualization software, but to actually learn Linux. So I'm going to leave that little piece of learning with you. If you want to explore more, go through it and learn it. But for now, we'll stop here and we'll go to the next video. In the next video, we will go ahead and create a new virtual machine so that virtual machine can have Linux operating system on it for our lab environment so we could practice Linux commands on it. In this lesson, we wanted to cover quickly how we can download and install PuTTY, which is a terminal client to connect to the Linux machine. So this is how the PuTTY looks. So let's look at how we could download it. First, we'll go into our web browser, open up a Google, and we'll just simply type download PuTTY. The first link you get, putty.org, click on it. And the first link, download PuTTY right here. Click. And then you're going to get two .msi files. These files are used on the Windows machine. So if you have Windows 32-bit, you could download this one. Or if you have 64-bit, you could download this one. I have the 64, so I'm going to download this one. It will save the file to your desktop or wherever you have the location on your browser set to. Alright, download is completed. It should be on my desktop. It's right here. I'm going to double click, run, next, leave the default, next. Here it will have add shortcut to PuTTY on the desktop. I want the shortcut of the PuTTY and will be installed on the local hard drive. Yes, click install. Okay, the last screen is going to ask you to view the README file. You don't have to. If you want, you can leave it checked on. And then click finish. Once in finish, you go to your desktop, you're going to see this PuTTY shortcut created on your desktop. So you could just simply double click, and this is the PuTTY client that you have. So we're going to put in the IP address, and the port is already set to 22, and then we'll connect to a Linux machine. But first we need to find out what is the IP of the Linux machine. So let's look at that in our next lesson. Here we will access our Linux machine, the one we installed earlier, through our PuTTY client. Now remember, you have access to a Linux machine. You could use the PuTTY client, or you could simply log in directly to the console. It's really up to you. So this is the PuTTY client looks like. We're going to connect to our Linux machine, which is our first Linux machine, through the PuTTY. Let's go to our Linux machine. Here we have our Linux machine, and that's a console. We log into the console. And then we open up a terminal, and that's how we perform most of our tasks, most of our commands. Now another way to connect is through the PuTTY. For that, we have to assign an IP address to this Linux machine. So what is the IP address right now? The command to check is ifconfig. So when we scroll up, you see here our network adapter is this ENP00S3, but it doesn't have an IP address. So how do we assign an IP address? Which we will go into our Oracle VirtualBox, click on Setting, and go to Network, change the NAT to host only adapter. and click OK. Once it is saved, you could simply run ifconfig command again, and then you scroll up, and you'll see right now it still does not have the Ethernet IP address right here. It should come up somewhere here. So I think probably the adapter is not up. So we will have to become root. And type in command if cfg, if up, and the name of the adapter, which is ENP0S3. Once you hit that, it says connection successfully activated. Let's wait for the prompt. The prompt came back. Hit up arrow key and look for ifconfig again. And this time you'll see it has an IP address, which is 192.168.56.101. Now we're going to put in that IP address in a PuTTY terminal, 192.168.56.101. Hit enter, or you could also save the session saying my Linux VM, like that. You could save it. So this way, next time you don't have to type in the IP address. And then you click here and then click open. Once it opens, it's going to ask you for a warning sign. It's going to tell you if you wanted to keep the SSH keys. It's just a secure way to connect to Linux. Just click yes. It's going to say login as. Now I'm going to log in as myself. I have Zal, and you probably have your own account. So log in with your own account. Hit enter. Put in the password, and there you go. This is exactly as if you were logging in through the GUI. Now, the reason we need to know how to log in through the PuTTY is because 98% of the time when you are going to be working in a corporate environment, there is no GUI environment where you're going to come in and log into the GUI. You're always going to have the PuTTY session where you're going to put in the IP address of the destination server, and then you're going to connect to it. Now, if you type hostname, you're going to see your host name right here. So this is exactly as this one right here. So in our lessons down, after this lesson, we're going to be using interchangeably. Sometimes you're going to be using PuTTY. Sometimes you're going to be logging in as a console. So it really doesn't matter where you're logging in from, but you should know both ways how to log in. Creating virtual machine. In this lesson, we will create our first virtual machine, and on which we will be installing our CentOS Linux operating system. Well, virtual machine is basically nothing but a shell, a container, which holds the information of a machine, CPU, memory, disk, and all the resources. This virtual machine is going to be sharing the resources wherever it is installed. So let's say if it is installed on my laptop, it will be sharing the resources from my laptop. The Oracle Virtual Box. I'm going to open it up. Okay, so this is the window for the Oracle Virtual Box. I'm going to click on New. The name I will pick is My First Linux VM. And if you notice, the VirtualBox is smart enough to pick the operating system type and version for you. You probably notice that you probably not gonna see the 64-bit. You are probably seeing 32-bit. Now, if you are seeing a 32-bit, then either your computer is a 32-bit architecture, or the virtualization technology is not enabled. First, let's find out if my computer is 64 or not. So let's go to Start menu, Computer, and I'm going to click, right click, and go to properties. Once the property comes up, you will see here, it will tell you if it's Windows 7 PC. And right here, you're going to see where it says system type, it says 64-bit operating system. So that's one way, that's one of the reason that when I'm building my virtual machine, it is coming up 64-bit operating system. The second reason you might not gonna see 64 is if you don't have virtual technology enabled in your BIOS setting. If that's the case, I have actually pasted an article in in this lesson, and there is a link to it. I would recommend that you could go to that link and try the settings that are recommended and see if it changes to 64 setting. I'm sure it will work. If not, you could always email me back. So I'm gonna leave these settings here. I'm gonna click next. Now here it's going to ask me the size of the memory I want to assign to this virtual machine. Now by default it's picking up 1 gig of memory. Now you should also keep in mind how much memory do you have actually in your laptop. So in my laptop I have, let's look at my computer again, right click, properties, and you will see here my computer has installed memory is 4 gig. So it is wise that I keep the memory below that digit, that number. So I have 4 gig, so I'm gonna give 1 gig of that memory to this virtual machine. And click next. Create a new virtual disk. Yes, it will create a brand new virtual disk. Next, leave the default. Dynamically allocated, leave the default. Click close. Um, then this is the size of the disk. By default, it picks 8 gig. I want to pick 10 gig just to be safe. So I'm gonna just click inside of this box, remove, and type 10. And click create. And there you go. This is my first virtual machine that is created. Again, think of it as a piece of hardware that's been created for me. I'm on the assembly line. I'm putting the CPU, I'm putting the memory, I'm putting the hard disk, I'm putting everything in that machine, and I built that machine. So once the machine is built, what is the next step? Next step is to install the operating system. And in our course, we will be working with CentOS operating system. So I'm going to power this on and I'm going to install the operating system. But of course, before I go ahead and install the operating system, I do need the software ISO image. So in the next lecture, we will cover how we're going to download the ISO software and then how we could attach that software to this Linux VM, and then we will boot off of that software. Hello and welcome to CentOS installation. This is the fun part. Yes, this is where we're gonna get our hands dirty. We're gonna go ahead and download the CentOS ISO image file from the internet. Once we have it downloaded, then we will go through the installation, a complete installation of CentOS Linux operating system. So are you ready? So now I want you to go ahead and open up your browser, any browser that you prefer, whether it's IE, Firefox, or Chrome. So let's go in. I have my browser open already. Um, I will go into Google. Now, the second step is you could use Google or any search engine that you like, and I want you to type CentOS download and hit enter. Once you hit enter, you will get the first link. I want you to go ahead and click on it, or you could simply go ahead and click on download. But first, let's go to this first link. So on the first link or the first page, you will see download CentOS. Now, sometimes you will see three options in this page. One is a DVD ISO, Second one is everything DVD ISO, and third one is minimal ISO. If you are seeing three, or if you're seeing two right now, it doesn't matter, because what we need is DVD ISO. This is the one that we need to click on. So go ahead and click on DVD ISO. This will bring you to the links where the ISO images are saved. So all those links are actually the links to the servers, or they're oftentimes referred to as mirrors. These mirrors, when you click on it, will take you to the file where the file location is. So go ahead and pick any one of your choice. I will recommend that you pick the first one. So go ahead and click on the first one. Once you click on the first one, it will ask you or prompt you to save the file. You have to save the file to the location. So go ahead and click OK. If you do not know where the file is being saved, you see this little arrow here. If you are using the Firefox, you will see this little arrow here. Click on it and it will tell you that it is being downloaded right now. I do not want to download because I have already downloaded that file previously, because I don't want it to waste time, your time and my time, to go through the complete download. So let's minimize this page. Let's go to our desktop, because all my downloads go into my desktop. Now you already have this CentOS file. Okay, now I want you to go ahead and click on, or double click on your Oracle Virtual Box, the icon you have on your desktop. If you do not have that icon on your desktop, then you go to the Start menu and find that up. And you will go ahead and start from here. When it opens up, you will see the My First Linux VM, the one we created earlier. These two, you're probably not going to see it because I was playing around with some Windows virtual machine. Anyways, you could just ignore them. Um, Click on the My First Linux VM and click on Start. Now this is powering up your virtual machine. This is exactly the same way as if you powering on your physical machine by pressing the button on it. So now it is asking, since this virtual machine has no operating system, so by default it's asking you to attach a virtual disk to it. So it is asking where is the location of that virtual disk which you want to install that operating system. So go ahead and click on this little icon, which will browse us to our desktop where we have our ISO image saved. Click on this little one and you'll see right here on our desktop folder, when you click on our desktop, you come down and you'll see right here it says CentOS 7, which we have downloaded a few minutes ago. So go ahead and click on Open and click on Start. By the way, this top thing right here is telling you you have option to capture keyboard option turn on. This will cause the virtual machine to automatically capture. You could just go ahead and cancel it. Now it's telling you at this screen, it's telling you this is a CentOS 7. Install CentOS 7, test this media and install CentOS 7, or do the troubleshooting. Right now, by default, test this media and install CentOS 7 is selected. You do not want to test this media. Usually this option is picked when you have a DVD install. And the reason we do the test, because sometimes the DVD have scratches on it. That's why we wanted to go through the test. So since this is ISO image, we don't do that. So go ahead and hit up arrow key on your keyboard and it will select or highlight the top one. It says install CentOS 7. And now go ahead and hit enter. It is actually bringing the ISO image, copying the files that are needed to actually install the operating system. So it will go through certain startup processes. It will start up the GUI that will allow us to go through the installation of the Linux CentOS operating system. We will give it a minute for the GUI to come up. See right here it says starting installer, one moment, and the installer, the GUI itself is called Anaconda. This is the name they have given. Why? I don't know, but this is the name. If you wanted to keep in mind, you just Remember that Anaconda is the GUI tool or the GUI wizard that will help you to install the Linux operating system. Now you are on the welcome to CentOS 7 uh, welcome page. What language would you like to use during the installation? By default, English, and I am in United States, so I'll pick English, United States. If you are in any other country, I will recommend that you pick that country, or if you want to pick a different language, you could pick that. However, I am not going to tell you how you could go through the installation with different language. Anyway, so I would prefer that you stay on English, and then you could pick a different country. Now go ahead and click on continue at the bottom right. Okay, so now it says please complete items marked with this action, this icon, before continuing to the next step. Now the date and time is the first one. We have already pre-selected America's New York time zone. If you want to change the time zone depending on which time zone you are in, go ahead and click on it and change the time zone. Keyboard, it by default it selects English and US. Language support, again English, United States. Installation source, local media, which means that we are installing the operating system through the local ISO image. So it's already been selected. Perfect. Next stop, software selection. This is where it has by default the software selection as minimal install. If you leave that as is minimal install, then it will install the Linux operating system, but it will not have any GUI on it. Well, remember one thing, most of the time in corporate environment there are no GUI on Linux. But since we are going through some practice, we will go through some GUI practices as well because I do want you to know how GUI works in Linux as well. So we'll go ahead and click on software selection, and that's where we will pick a couple of different additional software that are required. In the minimum install, we have other options as well. If you wanted to use system administration tools or any other tools, you could pick them. We could leave as default. Compute node, anything, any debugging tools, directory clients, hardware monitoring tools, development tools. Most of these tools are used by developers. Since we are not going through the development training, we will leave that as is. Infrastructure server. What type of server are we going to run on this machine? I will tell you, you could pick any one that you think you might need it later on. You could pick the DNS server for now because we are going to cover DNS, which is bind in this training. So you could pick DNS. If you do not pick DNS server at this time, there is no issue. We could always install DNS server or package later on. But anyway, just to show you how it works, I just selected one DNS name server. Anything else that you wanted to select here, you could. If you don't want to, just follow my lead. Then let's go to the next one, says file and print server. You could leave everything as is. As said, basic web server, we don't need it. Virtualization host, no. Server with GUI. Yes, this is where we have to come in. And if you notice, as you are going down, all the other options that were available on the base environments are actually added here as well. So don't worry about it. They are repetitive. It's not that this option will have a different DNS server and with this base environment. So right now we are in the server with GUI environment. I want you to go down and pick KDE, which is KDE is a Plasma workspace, a highly configured graphical user interface. I also want you to pick Java platform because if we are running certain application that requires Java, we could bring that up. Let's see what we have. We have all the virtualization tool. Um, okay, I think we are good here with the KDE. Now the next one is Genome Desktop. Now, Genome Desktop are the desktop that also provide some type of applications for the user. Let's say if you wanted to use Firefox or if you wanted to use calculators or something on the GUI side, then you could select this desktop as well. So go ahead and click on Genome Applications. Any other tools we need? internet application, email, chat, video conferencing software. We don't want that because most likely in corporate environment you will not be using any of these. KDE Plasma Workstation, Workspaces, Development and Creative Workstation, and that's pretty much it. You don't really need any other applications or add-ons for the selected environment. Now go ahead and click Done. Now you will see this option right here it will tell you checking software dependency. It means it is going to our ISO image and asking that ISO image, hey, this user has selected these many packages. Do you have these packages for me to install on this operating system? It's going to say, hey, okay, no problem. Let me go ahead and check that. So it's checking the source and it's checking the software dependency as well. So what is needed for those add-ons that we need to install. Installation destination, while it's running, we'll go to the next one. It says installation destination. Now, how do we want to partition our disk? Installation destination right now it says automatic partitioning selected. If you want to change that, meaning right now we have 10 gig, this is the disk size that we selected when we were creating the virtual machine. This disk size has shown up here is telling us we have 10 gig of disk space. How do you want to partition it? We are telling it automatically configure the partitioning. If you know or if your organization has a requirement to partition a disk into different slices or different partitioning, then you will go ahead and click on I will configure partitioning. Now go ahead and click on done. Next one is kdump. Kdump is enabled if something goes wrong. K means kernel. If there is something wrong with your system, a kernel is going to write some messages, some logs that is often referred in Linux language as a dump. That is enabled. So it's always a good practice to leave that enabled. So this way, if you are troubleshooting with your vendor, let's say if you have CentOS Red Hat involved, they could go ahead and take a look at your logs. Next one we have is networking and hostname. Okay, we are on a network and hostname configuration. At the bottom you'll see hostname. Go ahead and highlight what we have right now and hit delete and type in the host name of the Linux operating system. We'll type the same one as we picked for our VM, my first Linux VM, and click on apply. As soon as you click on apply, you'll see the current hostname will change to the hostname that you have picked. Now the second thing is to configure the Ethernet. Now remember, by default, if your machine or your virtual machine, this is your virtual machine, if it is running on a PC that has 1 gig of network port, it will show up here as speed 1 gig. And right now it is showing it's wired for me because I have selected or my machine where I'm running this virtual machine is wired. So go ahead and click on configure. And by default, it will show up the tab as Ethernet ENP0S3 is the name of our network adapter. So we'll click on General and we'll click Automatically Connect to this network when it is available. The rest of the setting is blacked out by default. You could leave as default. IPv4 setting is the setting for automatic DHCP. If you want to assign an IP, then you would have to change it to manual, but we want the IP to be assigned automatically, so we will leave it as is. And the last one is IPv6 settings. We don't use that right now, so go ahead and click on save. So once you click on save, you will see it tells you automatically connected. It is given an IP already, and now you could go ahead and click on done. Okay, and so our network and host name has been configured. Now the last part is security profile. No profile is selected. You could leave that as is unless your organization has a specific procedure to put it in place for security policies. Then you could define it here. But for now, you could just leave as is and go ahead and click on begin installation. Once you click on begin installation, you will see at the bottom it will start creating your partitions that were selected, that you asked the system to select it for you. Now it's going to starting package installation process. While this is going through the package installation, we have two user settings to define. First is root password. So go ahead and click on root password is not set, and here you would have to put in the root password. Pick anything that you will remember. If you notice, I picked a weak password. You should pick a strong password if you're working for a company or if you are in an organization. But if you are just following my lab or you're doing this everything as a tutorial, that is fine. You could pick a weak password. However, if you notice at the bottom it says the password you have provided is weak. The password fails the directory check. It is based on a dictionary word, which you will have to press done twice to confirm. So, okay, I understand it is a weak password. In order for me to keep that password, I have to press done twice. 1, 2. Now it has taken that weak password. User creation. Let's go ahead and create our first user. Full name. Let's put in our first name. By default, Linux takes the first name as the first letter, first initial. Last name is a complete last name. So for me, the username will be IMf&x. Keep your username shorter than 32 characters and you do not use spaces. That is fine. We are not using any spaces. We are only using 6 letters. Make this user administrator. You could leave that out. Requires a password to use this account. Yes. Let's pick a password. Again, it is weak, I understand, and I would have to do the same thing done twice. Okay, it is done. Now, if you come down and you notice right here, the operating system is installing, or this wizard is installing packages for this operating system. Total number of packages that are required to be installed are 1397. You might have a little more or a little less, but that's okay. It depends and it changes over time what other packages are installed, what other dependencies are installed. So again, if your packages do not match with my packages, do not panic. You are okay. So now you'll see it is going through the packages installation. At this point, it has installed almost 400 packages, and there's still about 800 packages that needs to be installed. And this process will take, I would say, somewhere between 10 minutes to 30 minutes. I am going to fast forward this entire process to save time. Now the packages installation has been completed. Now it is going through some post installation setup. Alright, finally our installation has been completed successfully. Now CentOS is now successfully installed and ready for you to use. Go ahead and reboot to start using it. Click on reboot. Once the system comes back online, it will give you the initial setup page. The first page is about licensing. You have to accept the license. Click accept license agreement and click on done. Network and host name. If you notice, we have already selected this network and host name configuration during our installation so that you don't need to do it again. Click Done. And right here it says Finish Configuration. Go ahead and click on Finish Configuration. Alright, finally our entire Linux installation has completed. Now we have to log in the first time. Click on your name, or you could also log in as root. If you remember, you have picked a root password, you would have to click on not listed and type in username root and password, but for now we'll go in as ourselves. And we will put in our password. Click on sign in or hit enter. Alright, this is the desktop. This is how it looks like in CentOS. It is very similar to Red Hat CentOS. You have these icons right here. You could resize them if you want to. You could delete any icon. You could create icon. And you could explore other things on the application and spaces. So also one more thing, when it starts up, it also gives you this welcome page. So you just leave as English. Go ahead and click on next. Typing, if you want to change anything, you could leave it default. Location services, I usually keep it off. If you want to leave it on, it's really up to you. Click next. Connect to online accounts, you don't have to do that. Click skip, and then start using CentOS Linux. So once again, congratulations. So now you know how to do the complete Linux CentOS installation. If you think that you missed something, then I would recommend you to go ahead and delete this entire Linux VM and go ahead and create a new virtual machine and do the Linux installation again from scratch. The more you do, the more practice you will do, the more you will learn. Alright, good luck. Hello and welcome to CentOS installation. This is the fun part. Yes, this is where we're gonna get our hands dirty. We're gonna go ahead and download the CentOS ISO image file from the internet. Once we have it downloaded, then we will go through the installation, a complete installation of CentOS Linux operating system. So are you ready? So now I want you to go ahead and open up your browser, any browser that you prefer, whether it's IE, Firefox, or Chrome. So let's go in. I have my browser open already. Um, I will go into Google. Now, the second step is you could use Google or any search engine that you like. And I want you to type CentOS download and hit enter. Once you hit enter, you will get the first link. I want you to go ahead and click on it, or you could simply go ahead and click on download. But first, let's go to this first link. So on the first link or the first page, you will see download CentOS. Now, sometimes you will see three options in this page. One is a DVD ISO, second one is everything DVD ISO, and third one is minimal. You might also see CentOS Linux DVD ISO or CentOS Stream DVD ISO. Again, the website changes the way it looks time to time. What you need to pick the one that has a Linux DVD ISO. If you are seeing three, or if you're seeing two right now, it doesn't matter, because what we need is DVD ISO. So go ahead and click on DVD ISO. This will bring you to the links where the ISO images are saved. So go ahead and pick any one of your choice. I would recommend that you pick the first one. Now, if your screen shows CentOS version 8 instead of version 7, then it's perfectly fine. You could go ahead and pick version 8 because version 8 installation is very similar to version 7. Once you click on the first one, it will ask you or prompt you to save the file. You have to save the file to the location, so go ahead and click OK. If you do not know where the file is being saved, you see this little arrow here. If you are using the Firefox, you will see this little arrow here. Click on it and it will tell you that it is being downloaded right now. I do not want to download because I have already downloaded that file previously because I don't want it to waste time, your time and my time to go through the complete download. So let's minimize this page. Let's go to our desktop because all my downloads go into my desktop. Now you already have the CentOS file. Okay, now I want you to go ahead and click on or double click on your Oracle Virtual Box, the icon you have on your desktop. If you do not have that icon on your desktop, then you go to the Start menu and find that up. And you will go ahead and start from here. When it opens up, you will see the My First Linux VM, the one we created earlier. These two, you're probably not going to see it because I was playing around with some Windows virtual machine. Anyways, just you could just ignore them. Um, Click on the My First Linux VM and click on Start. Now this is powering up your virtual machine. This is exactly the same way as if you powering on your physical machine by pressing the button on it. So now it is asking, since this virtual machine has no operating system, so by default is asking you to attach a virtual disk to it. So it is asking where is the location of that virtual disk which you want to install that operating system. So go ahead and click on this little icon which will browse us to our desktop where we have our ISO image saved. Click on this little one and you'll see right here on our desktop folder, when you click on our desktop, you come down and you'll see right here it says CentOS 7, which we have downloaded a few minutes ago. So go ahead and click on Open and click on Start. By the way, this top thing right here is telling you have option to capture keyboard option turn on. This will cause the virtual machine to automatically capture. You could just go ahead and cancel it. Now it's telling you at this screen, it's telling you this is a CentOS 7. Install CentOS 7, test this media and install CentOS 7 or do the troubleshooting. Right now, by default, test this media and install CentOS 7 is selected. You do not want to test this media. Usually this option is picked when you have a DVD install. And the reason we do the test because sometimes the DVD have scratches on it. That's why we wanted to go through the test. So since this is ISO image, we don't do that. So go ahead and hit up arrow key on your keyboard and it will select or highlight the top one. It says install CentOS 7. And now go ahead and hit enter. It is actually bringing the ISO image, copying the files that are needed to actually install the operating system. So it will go through certain startup processes. It will start up the GUI that will allow us to go through the installation of the Linux CentOS operating system. We will give it a minute for the GUI to come up. See right here it says starting installer, one moment, and the installer, the GUI itself is called Anaconda. This is the name they have given. Why? I don't know, but this is the name. If you wanted to keep in mind, you just remember that Anaconda is the GUI tool or the GUI wizard that will help you to install the Linux operating system. Now you are on the Welcome to CentOS 7 welcome page. What language would you like to use during the installation? By default, English, and I am in United States, so I'll pick English, United States. If you are in any other country, I will recommend that you pick that country, or if you want to pick a different language, you could pick that. However, I am not going to tell you how you could go through the installation with different language. Anyway, so I would prefer that you stay on English and then you could pick a different country. Now go ahead and click on continue at the bottom right. Okay, so now it says please complete items marked with this action, this icon before continuing to the next step. Now the date and time is the first one. We have already pre-selected America's New York time zone. If you want to change the time zone depending on which time zone you are in, go ahead and click on it and change the time zone. Keyboard, it by default it selects English. and US. Language support, again English, United States. Installation source, local media, which means that we are installing the operating system through the local ISO image. So it's already been selected. Perfect. Next stop, software selection. This is where it has by default the software selection as minimal install. If you leave that as is minimal install, then it will install the Linux operating system, but it will not have any GUI on it. Well, remember one thing, most of the time in corporate environment there are no GUI on Linux. But since we are going through some practice, we will go through some GUI practices as well because I do want you to know how GUI works in Linux as well. So we'll go ahead and click on software selection, and that's where we will pick a couple of different additional software that are required. In the minimum install, we have other options as well. If you wanted to use system administration tools or any other tools, you could pick them. We could leave as default. Compute node, anything, any debugging tools, directory clients, hardware monitoring tools, development tools. Most of these tools are used by developers. Since we are not going through the development training, we will leave that as is. Infrastructure server. What type of server are we going to run on this machine? I will tell you, you could pick any one that you think you might need it later on. You could pick the DNS server for now because we are going to cover DNS, which is bind in this training. So you could pick DNS. If you do not pick DNS server at this time, there is no issue. We could always install DNS server or package later on. But anyway, just to show you how it works, I just selected one DNS name server. Anything else that you wanted to select here, you could. If you don't want to, just follow my lead. Then let's go to the next one, says file and print server. You could leave everything as is. As said, basic web server, we don't need it. Virtualization host, no. Server with GUI. Yes, this is where we have to come in. And if you notice, as you are going down, all the other options that were available on the base environments are actually added here as well. So don't worry about it. They are repetitive. It's not that this option will have a different DNS server and with this base environment. So right now we are in the server with GUI environment. I want you to go down and pick um, KDE, which is KDE is a Plasma workspace, a highly configured graphical user interface. I also want you to pick Java platform because if we are running certain application that requires Java, we could bring that up. Let's see what we have. We have all the virtualization tool. Um, okay, I think we are good here with the KDE. Now the next one is Genome Desktop. Now, Genome Desktop are the desktop that also provide some type of applications for the user. Let's say if you wanted to use Firefox or if you wanted to use calculators or something on the GUI side, then you could select this desktop as well. So go ahead and click on Genome Applications. Any other tools we need? Internet application, email, chat, video conferencing software. We don't want that because most likely in corporate environment you will not be using any of these. KDE Plasma Workstation, Workspaces, Development and Creative Workstation, and that's pretty much it. You don't really need any other applications or add-ons for the selected environment. Now go ahead and click Done. Now you will see this option right here it will tell you checking software dependency. It means it is going to our ISO image and asking that ISO image, hey, this user has selected these many packages. Do you have these packages for me to install on this operating system? It's going to say, hey, okay, no problem. Let me go ahead and check that. So it's checking the source and it's checking the software dependency as well. So what is needed for those add-ons that we need to install. Installation destination, while it's running, we'll go to the next one. It says installation destination. Now, how do we want to partition our disk? Installation destination right now says automatic partitioning selected. If you want to change that, meaning right now we have 10 gig, this is the disk size that we selected when we were creating the virtual machine. This size has shown up here is telling us we have 10 gig of disk space. How do you want to partition it? We are telling it automatically configure the partitioning. If you know, or if your organization has a requirement to partition a disk into different slices or different partitioning, then you will go ahead and click on I will configure partitioning. Now go ahead and click on done. Next one is kdump. Kdump is enabled if something goes wrong. K means kernel. If there is something wrong with your system, a kernel is going to write some messages, some logs that is often referred in Linux language as a dump. That is enabled. So it's always a good practice to leave that enabled. So this way, if you are troubleshooting with your vendor, let's say if you have CentOS, Red Hat involved, they could go ahead and take a look at your logs. Next one we have is networking and hostname. Okay, we are on a network and hostname configuration. At the bottom you'll see hostname. Go ahead and highlight what we have right now and hit delete and type in the host name of the Linux operating system. We'll type the same one as we picked for our VM, my first Linux VM, and click on apply. As soon as you click on apply, you'll see the current host name will change to the host name that you have picked. Now the second thing is to configure the Ethernet. Now remember, by default, if your machine or your virtual machine, this is your virtual machine, if it is running on a PC that has 1 gig of network port, it will show up here as speed 1 gig. And right now it is showing it's wired for me because I have selected, or my machine where I'm running this virtual machine is wired. So go ahead and click on configure. And by default, it will show up the tab as Ethernet ENP0S3 is the name of our network adapter. So we'll click on General and we'll click Automatically Connect to this network when it is available. The rest of the setting is blacked out by default. You could leave as default. IPv4 setting is the setting for automatic DHCP. If you want to assign an IP, then you would have to change it to manual, but we want the IP to be assigned automatically, so we will leave it as is. And the last one is IPv6 settings. We don't use that right now, so go ahead and click on save. So once you click on save, you will see it tells you automatically connected. It is given an IP already, and now you could go ahead and click on done. Okay, and so our network and host name has been configured. Now the last part is security profile. No profile is selected. You could leave that as is unless your organization has a specific procedure to put it in place for security policies. Then you could define it here. But for now, you could just leave as is and go ahead and click on begin installation. Once you click on begin installation, you will see at the bottom it will start creating your partitions that were selected, that you asked the system to select it for you. Now it's going to starting package installation process. While this is going through the package installation, we have two user settings to define. First is root password. So go ahead and click on root password is not set, and here you would have to put in the root password. Pick anything that you will remember. If you notice, I picked a weak password. You should pick a strong password if you are if you're working for a company or if you are in an organization. But if you are just following my lab or you're doing this everything as a tutorial, that is fine. You could pick a weak password. However, if you notice at the bottom, it says the password you have provided is weak. The password fails the directory check. It is based on a dictionary word, which you will have to press done twice to confirm. So, okay, I understand it is a weak password. In order for me to keep that password, I have to press done twice. 1, 2. Now it has taken that weak password. User creation. Let's go ahead and create our first user. Full name. Let's put in our first name. By default, Linux takes the first name as the first letter, first initial. Last name is a complete last name. So for me, the username will be IMf&x. Keep your username shorter than 32 characters and you do not use spaces. That is fine. We are not using any spaces. We are only using 6 letters. Make this user administrator. You could leave that out. Requires a password to use this account. Yes. Let's pick a password. Again, it is weak. I understand. And I would have to do the same thing done twice. Okay, it is done. Now, if you come down and you notice right here, the operating system is installing, or this wizard is installing packages for this operating system. Total number of packages that are required to be installed are 1397. You might have a little more or a little less, but that's okay. It depends and it changes over time what other packages are installed, what other dependencies are installed. So again, if your packages do not match with my packages, do not panic. You are okay. So now you'll see it is going through the packages installation. At this point, it has installed almost 400 packages, and there's still about 6 to 800 packages that needs to be installed. And this process will take, I would say, somewhere between 10 minutes to 30 minutes. I am going to fast forward this entire process to save time. Now the packages installation has been completed. Now it is going through some post installation setup. Alright, finally our installation has been completed successfully. Now CentOS is now successfully installed and ready for you to use. Go ahead and reboot to start using it. Click on reboot. Once the system comes back online, it will give you the initial setup page. The first page is about licensing. You have to accept the license. Click accept license agreement and click on done. Network and host name. If you notice, we have already selected this network and host name configuration during our installation, so that you don't need to do it again. Click done. And right here it says finish configuration. Go ahead and click on finish configuration. Alright, finally our entire Linux installation has completed. Now we have to log in the first time. Click on your name, or you could also log in as root. If you remember, you have picked a root password, you would have to click on not listed and type in username root and password, but for now we'll go in as ourselves. And we will put in our password. Click on sign in or hit enter. Alright, this is the desktop. This is how it looks like in CentOS. It is very similar to Red Hat CentOS. You have these icons right here. You could resize them if you want to. You could delete any icon. You could create an icon. And you could explore other things on the application and spaces. So also one more thing, when it starts up, it also gives you this welcome page. So you just leave as English, go ahead and click on next. Typing, if you want to change anything, you could leave it default. Location services, I usually keep it off. If you want to leave it on, it's really up to you. Click next. Connect to online accounts, you don't have to do that. Click skip, and then start using CentOS Linux. So once again, congratulations. So now you know how to do the complete Linux CentOS installation. If you think that you missed something, then I would recommend you to go ahead and delete this entire Linux VM and go ahead and create a new virtual machine and do the Linux installation again from scratch. The more you do, the more practice you will do, the more you will learn. All right, good luck. What is Oracle VirtualBox? And of course, why do we need to know about VirtualBox? Well, for this course, you do need to install CentOS Linux operating system on your computer, and there are two ways you could install it. One, you could remove the existing operating system that you have on your computer, or you could install VirtualBox on top of your existing Windows operating system or Mac, and then you could install CentOS, so this way you won't lose anything. So basically, VirtualBox is a free and open source hypervisor for x86 computers currently being developed by Oracle Corporation. It installs on your existing Intel or AMD based computers, whether they are running Windows, Mac, Linux, or Solaris. It extends the capabilities of your existing computer so that it can run multiple operating systems on one hardware at the same time. Let's see how it works. So you have the hardware layer, and then on top of it you install the operating system. Of course, it could be any one you have, that is Windows or Mac. And then you install Oracle VirtualBox. It's just a program, a software that you install on your machine like any other software that you would install. Once you have installed Oracle VirtualBox, then you could install Linux on it as a separate small version of operating system. You could have Windows on it, or you could have Mac on it. So this VirtualBox allows you to have multiple operating system on the same hardware. In this lesson, we will cover the Oracle VirtualBox download and its installation. First of all, you would have to go to Google and type Oracle VirtualBox download. And then the first link you'll see here, go to download. If your operating system is Windows, you will click on Windows host. Once you click on it, it will ask you to save the file. I can save the file, but since it takes some time, I have already saved the file previously to save some time. This is the file, the executable file that's been saved. Run. Click next. Leave everything default setting. Create a start menu entry. You could leave that. Create a shortcut on your desktop, that's fine. Create a shortcut in a quick launch bar, I don't like that. And register file association, you could leave that. Network and installing the Oracle VirtualBox and network feature will reset your network adapter connection temporarily. That's fine. Proceed and install. Do you want to allow the following program to run? Install the software? Yes. Would you like to install this device software from Oracle? Yes. If you notice quickly, this created a quick desktop shortcut on your desktop. It is trying to install another device software. That's fine. Click install. I'm just gonna say always trust anything that's coming from Oracle Corporation and just click on install. So this way it's not gonna bother me again. And there you go. Oracle VM VirtualBox installation is complete. Click Start Oracle VirtualBox after the installation. Yes, you could leave that checkbox. Click Finish. And let's cancel this. And there we go. That's the first welcome page of the VirtualBox. And that's where we have actually completed the installation of the VirtualBox. From here on, you could create a new virtual machine, and once we create a new virtual machine, we will install Linux CentOS operating system on that virtual machine.
What is Linux? So, of course, we are going to learn Linux, but we do want to know what exactly Linux is. Linux is an operating system. It's just like any other operating system. For example, Microsoft has Windows, Apple has Mac, Sun, which is now owned by Oracle, they have Solaris running on Spark hardware. So, Linux is an operating system which sits in the middle of your hardware and the users. And the users are the one who run the applications. So it's like a middleman or a bridge that takes the commands from users and translate them to hardware. So look at this picture. So you see a computer, right? So without an operating system, this computer is considered like a dumb terminal. It doesn't do anything. So how does it work? So um, we have this terminal, which is of course a piece of brick. You open the tray of that computer, you insert your CD or DVD in. That CD or DVD has the operating system image sitting on it, whether it's a Windows or whether it's Linux or whichever operating system that you are installing. So you boot your computer from that operating system. So once you're booting it up, it goes through the installation process. That installation process is going to ask you a bunch of questions like how do you want the operating system to be configured, how do you want your disk partition, how many users you want to have installed, and so on. So once the installation is done, then at the end of the installation, it's going to ask you to reboot. You reboot the computer and it comes up to the welcome screen and it'll say welcome to Linux or welcome to Windows or whichever the operating system that you're installing. So then you could attach external devices to it. For example, you could attach keyboard to it, you could attach mouse to it. So you use these mouse and keyboards, you type certain commands, you use applications and type them, and then you send it to your operating system. Then your operating system takes those commands and forward it to other hardware or other system peripherals. So some of them are, for example, we have printer. So if you are running an application, for example, you're running Microsoft Word, you type it in with your keyboard and then you want to print that document, right? So the operating system will take that document and send it to your printer, and your printer will spit out the document that you want to print. Or if you are running other programs, for example, you are online, you're checking your email, or you are running some online program or even games. So you are using your keyboard or your mouse, you communicating with your operating system, and the operating system communicates with your hardware, and that's how it communicates to other devices on the network.
In this video, we are going to cover the benefits of Linux. Linux has gained widespread adoption in various sectors, from personal computers to servers, mobile devices, and embedded systems. Let's go over some of the primary benefits that Linux has to offer. Number one is open source. Linux is open source software, which means its source code is freely available to anyone. This allows everyone to view, modify, and distribute this operating system. Then we have cost effective. Linux is generally free, though some enterprise distribution might have associated cost for support and additional features. Those operating systems are such as like a Red Hat operating system or SUSE Linux. This makes it an attractive option for both individuals and businesses wanting to reduce software licensing cost. Then the next one is security. Linux has a strong security architecture. Its permission and authentication model offers a robust layer of system protection. The open source nature allows for rapid detection and patching of vulnerabilities as well. So, of course, when you know the code, you could change the code, and when you find out those vulnerabilities, you could secure them right away. Then the next one is stability and reliability. Linux systems are known for their stability and can run for years without needing a reboot. Crashes in one application generally don't affect the whole system because one Linux system can actually support multiple applications that can run simultaneously. Then the next one is flexibility. Linux is highly configurable. Users can add, modify, or replace any part of the operating system for their specific needs. This makes it suitable for a wide range of devices and use cases, from supercomputers to IoT devices. Then the next one is software repositories. Most Linux distributions have vast software repositories, which allow users to easily search, install, and update required software packages. Then portability. Linux can run on various hardware platforms from x86 and ARM architectures to mainframes. Then community support. Due to its widespread adoption and the open source model, Linux boasts a large and active community that provides documentation, forum, tutorials, and other forms of support. So if you do not have a Linux subscription or support, you could go to the community support and ask for any issues you are having, and they will be happy to help you out. Then customization. Users can choose from multiple desktop environments, window managers, and themes, allowing for highly personalized experience, of course. Then the next one comes low hardware requirements. Linux can run on older hardware that might not be compatible with newer versions of Windows or Mac OS. So, of course, giving life to older devices. Then the next one is multitasking. Linux support multi-users and multitasking operations right from its core. Next one is file system. Linux supports a wide range of file systems like ext4, btrfs, and xfs, and many newer file systems. Then comes the networking. Linux offers robust networking features, making it a preferred choice of servers and network management tasks. And there are many tools that are used in Linux that allows you to configure Linux networking. Then we have transparency. Users can study the source code to understand the working of the system or to ensure there aren't any unwanted features or backdoors. Then the next one is regular updates. You could get regular updates to any issues or bugs you have in the system. And the last one, or of course not the least one, there are many more advantages. So this one is less vulnerable to malware. Linux security model and the smaller market share in the personal desktop segment make it less frequent target for malware compared to other operating systems. All right. These were some of the benefits of Linux, which gives its popularity in corporate world. And of course, in the end, it all depends on your application requirement and your choice. Hey, beautiful people. In this video, I want to spend some time and go over the operating system. Now, of course, our focus in this entire course is Linux, and Linux is an operating system. So before we start getting into Linux, let's understand what exactly an operating system is. So, as per Wikipedia, an operating system is system software that manages computer hardware and software resources and provides common services for computer programs. Or, in simple words, an operating system, in short OS, is software that acts as a middleman or a bridge between computer hardware and the computer users. What are the hardware? Like CPU, memory, disks, and who is the computer user? You are the computer users. It provides a user interface and controls the computer hardware so the software can function. Now, which software are we talking about here? Software or applications that actually run on your computer. Now, let me ask you a question. Why do you use computer? Because you want to use certain applications, right? You want to use, for example, Microsoft Word, Excel, you want to get online, you want to use Firefox or Chrome browser, you want to use calendar, calculator. All those applications are the main reason you have your computer at home, right? So when you start up your computer, the very first thing that starts up is your operating system, which allows you to start or operate other applications running or installed in your computer. Okay, now let's go over the different type of operating systems. The first one is desktop operating system. These operating systems are like Microsoft Windows, Mac OS, and Linux such as Ubuntu. They run on your regular computer or your laptop that you are using probably every day at home or in the office. Then you have server operating systems, for example, Windows Server, Linux distributions like CentOS, Red Hat, SUSE, and so on. These type of operating systems are actually run on corporate or enterprise level environment. Then mobile operating system, for example, Android, iOS, Windows Mobile. If you have Samsung phone, you have Android operating system that controlling that phone. If you have Apple phone, you have iOS operating system in it. If you have Microsoft phone, then you have Windows Mobile operating system running on it. Then embedded operating systems used in devices like routers, smart TVs, automobiles, home appliances. Then you have real-time operating systems, in short RTOS, used in critical systems like medical equipment, car ECUs, aerospace, defense, network firewalls, home security system, and so on. So I hope you have a better understanding now what exactly an operating system is. Now we will jump into Linux, which is an operating system. Linux distribution. I will cover here all the Linux operating system and its flavors that are out there, the main ones and the popular ones. There are many, many of them, but a few of them that I captured here. The first one is Red Hat. You probably have heard of Red Hat from many different sources. Red Hat is an enterprise level operating system that are being used by big major companies. They do charge for the support. They do provide their own customized, pre-configured, built operating system. You cannot change it. It's not open source, and anything goes wrong with the operating system, Red Hat can provide the support to fix it. Then the next one we have is Cent operating system, which is CentOS. This is the operating system actually we will be working with in my course. And the good thing about learning CentOS is if you planning to apply for a job on Linux after the course or once you gain some experience or whenever you are ready, you could easily find many jobs in Red Hat. CentOS is exactly the same as Red Hat. It is also managed by Red Hat. They don't provide support on CentOS and it's completely free. Then we have Fedora. This is also one of the popular operating systems that is used by many companies. Again, this one is free. Then we have SUSE. SUSE is very popular operating system in terms of customization. Many people uses this operating system and they change the code to give their proprietary appliances and their proprietary programs. A lot of companies like VMware also run SUSE appliances in their environment. Then we have Debian. Debian is very popular at the PC level. And the last one is Ubuntu. So all of these are major Linux distributions, Linux operating systems that I wanted to highlight. You will be hearing many of these names down the road, and our focus in this course is Cent operating system, which is CentOS. Linux file system. Now, what is a file system? A file system is basically, think of as a closet, as a shelf. When you come in, you change, you put your t-shirts in one shelf, you put your socks in another. So there is a systematic way in your closet where you put all your stuff. The file system in an operating system works exactly the same. The operating system has a file system where command files go to a different folder, peripheral devices or files go to a different folder, all the programs and applications that you install go to a different folder. So it will be easier, much easier for operating system to access those files. Now, operating system stores data on a disk drives using a structure called file system, consisting of files, directories, and information needed to access and locate them. There are many different type of file system. In general, improvements have been made to file system with new releases of operating system, and each new file system has been given a different name. In Linux, we have file system called extension 3, extension 4, XFS. And in Windows, it's the file system called NTFS or FAT. Linux file system stores information in hierarchy of directories and files, meaning there is a first folder, one folder, which is a slash, a root file system, and every other file actually created within the first file or directory. The file system structure in Linux actually looks like this. As I mentioned, the first file system or first folder always start with slash, which is also referred to as root. Now please keep in mind slash root is not as just slash. Slash is the first directory structure where you have to start your navigating your file system. And then underneath it has different folders. As you could see, it has bin, boot, dev, etc. So this is the way Linux structure its file system. Or if we compare this Linux file system with Windows, you will see the Windows has also something like that, similar structure, but they have given a different name. So let's look at the Windows file system. If you go to Start and you go to Computer, you're going to see your C drive. In this case, our C drive, when we refer to our file system structure diagram in the background, you'll see right here, this one has slash. So in Windows, it starts with C. So C or slash is the same, but C in Windows and slash in Linux. So when you double click on Windows C drive, you're going to see all those different folders. Now, why do we have all those different folders? Why not just one folder? And it would be so hard for the operating system to find the right file or directories that you're looking for. So for example, like apps and Dell, then you have Intel folder, all the Intel chip related files are in that directory. The logs, program files are the folder when you install a third party applications. That's where they are downloaded or the files get. Then we have another one, program files x86. That's where the 32-bit related directories are created, and users, that are the user directories. If you click on it, you'll see my directory right here as well. and then of course the Windows, anything that related to Windows. So that's why it is predefined by Windows that every time we create a file or every time we install a program, automatically it gets installed into these files and directories. So just like that, when we come here, you'll see here that this is the file system. The same way in Linux, this file system is created, but of course the naming convention is different. Now let's take a look at our Linux file system. So I'm going to open up Oracle VirtualBox. So let's go to the file system. So as I said, in the Linux file system, it starts with a root. So when you do cd slash, which is root slash, hit enter, and then you do ls minus L. Here you have a list of all the directories and files that are starting with slash. You could go into each of these directories and you could see how the file system is structured. So I hope you guys got the gist of how the file system looks like and why do we have file system in our operating system.
Creating files and directories. In this lesson, we will cover how we can create files and directories, different ways to create files. The first one is the touch. The touch command creates a file that is, of course, an empty file. The second way to create a file is if you are copying an existing file and creating a new file at the destination location. And the third way to create a file is through vi command. Now vi is our editor, which we will cover in detail later in the lessons, but I will cover quickly how we could create a file using vi. Creating directories, the easiest way to create a directory in the command is mkdir, which is make directory. So now let's get into our Linux machine, and we will use every command listed here as a practice to create our files. Okay, the first thing we have to do is to find out what user ID we are logged in as. So you do who am I, and will tell you you are logged in as yourself. And then the second thing, you have to know which directory you are in. And I am in my home directory. Now I will be creating a few files, and as your homework I want you to create those files and directories as well. The first way to create a file, here I have a list of files that I will be creating. We will use the first command to create a file will be touch. We'll create touch space. I have here Jerry. Hit enter. When you hit enter and you get the prompt back, that means your command worked. Now how do we know where is that file? You do ls minus L, and you'll see here the directory you have is right here, Jerry. Sorry, not the directory, the file. Now I want you to create another file. Touch Kramer. Again, check if it's created. Yes, it is created, Jerry and Kramer. Now I use the option ls minus L, which will list all the files and the directories in an alphabetical order. Now if you wanted to list all the files or directories that are created at when it was last modified, you will use ls minus LTR, which means give you everything by the timely order and in reverse, meaning the oldest one at the top and the newest one at the bottom. When you hit enter, you will see Jerry was the first one that was created, followed by the Kramer. Next one we are creating is George. How do you verify that file was created? You do ls L. Now these files can be changed or renamed or moved, but we'll go to the next set of files to create. I want you to use this time the copy command. So I want you to use copy Jerry, and then the destination file I want you to be Lex. So do ls-ltr. So what exactly it did, it copied this Jerry file and named it Lex. I want you to do the same thing for Clark. So copy Jerry or Kramer or whichever file and do Clark. Same thing, copy Jerry and Lois. Now let's verify we have all those files. There you go, we got all 6 files. So now 3 files we created with touch command, 3 files we created with the copy command, and the rest of the files we'll create using VI. Now remember, VI is a very tricky, so I will only create 1 file and we will cover the VI later. So VI space Homer. So hit enter. Once you hit enter, it will bring you to file editor. Now be very careful what you type in here, because you will not be able to get out if you really don't know what you are doing. So at this point I just want you to do shift colon W as in write, Q as in quit, and exclamation point, which is also referred as bang. Hit enter. The file Homer is created. How do we verify it? Let's do ls-ltr, and there you go, the Homer file is created. Now the other 3 files I will create by the touch command. Now you will notice you don't have to run touch command over and over again. You could run the touch command just once and do Bart space Lisa space marg, March. So now with this just one command, it will create 3 files. So hit enter. Verified. All 3 files, Bart, March, Lisa, all of them are in this directory. Now the next step I want you to do is create directories within your home directory. So just do pwd just to make sure you are in home directory. Then from here you do mkdir space Seinfeld. Now the directory is created because you got your prompt back. How do you verify it? ls-ltr, and you see at the bottom that's where the directory is created. And if you notice, some of the Linux distributions also change the color for you, so this way it will be easier for you to identify which one is the file or which one is a directory. Same way I want you to create another directory, mkdir Superman, and again you could also do the same way. Instead of running one command after the other, you could just run one command and followed by 2 different directories. So the second directory we have is Simpson, and hit enter. Once you hit enter, again do ls-ltr, see all 3 directories at the bottom, and you have all your files right here listed here. So this is the way you create files and directories in your home directory. If you try to create a directory in, let's say, slash or somewhere else where you do not have permission, it would tell you that this directory, you do not have sufficient rights to create that directory. So let's take an example. If you go to cd/etc and I want to create a file here, let's call it test123, and hit enter, it's going to tell you you do not have permission to create that file in there because we don't own slash. Who owns the slash? Root owns it, and you are not root. Who are you? You are yourself. In this case I have Saul. Again, we learned 4 commands: touch, copy, vi to create files, and the last command we learned to create directories is mkdir.
File system structure and its description. We have a file system and each in Linux that is divided into different directories, and that's something that we have seen previously as well. So now I am going to take some time in this lecture to go over each file system partition or the folder or a directory that is set up in Linux, and I will explain you every directory in Linux file system and what is it used for. So I have listed down all the directories and I will go over them one by one based on how important they are. So the first one and the most important one that we have in the list is slash boot. Slash boot is the file or is the directory that contains files used for bootloader, or the file that is in there is a grub.cfg or configuration file. What happens is every time your system boots up, the first thing the operating system that needs to boot up, the system looks for slash boot. And that is somehow hard coded in the disk that you start up, go into slash boot, and you will find what operating system you need to start, whether it's an old operating system or a new one or upgraded version. So it goes into the slash boot file and it looks into it. By the way, I will go over each one of the directory in my Linux system and I'll show you exactly what inside of each directory. Second one, we have slash root. It is the root user home directory. Please remember, it is not the same as slash. A lot of time people confuse slash, which is also known as root, but it is not actually slash root. So root, when you log into a system, a Linux system as root, and you do pwd, you will see you will be in slash root, not just slash. Then we have slash dev directory. This is a system's device such as a disk, a CD-ROM, speakers, flash drive, keyboard, any of those peripheral devices that are attached to your Linux system. They are created as a file as well, and they will show up in a slash dev directory. Going and moving forward is the next one is slash etc. It is also one of the most important directory in Linux file system. It has all the configuration file. If you are running sendmail, NFS, NTP, or any kind of application that actually runs on top of your Linux system or that comes with the Linux system, all those configuration files are located in slash etc. If I wanted to modify something on, let's say, DNS, I will go into slash etc name.com file. If I wanted to modify something in the sendmail, I will go into etc mail and sendmail.cf or that type of configuration file. So just remember that anytime you're making change in slash etc to any file inside of this directory, please make sure you make a backup first of that file before you modify the configuration file. Then we have slash bin. Slash bin in the newer version has been changed to slash user slash bin. It is like a linked to slash user slash bin, and it is actually the directory where we have the commands that are used by everyday user commands like ls, pwd, these type of commands. All of them are in a slash user slash bin directory. Then we have another directory called slash sbin, which is pointing or linked to slash user slash bin. This is a system slash file system commands. Those are the type of commands that you really need for system type of purposes. If you want to extend your file system or configure your file system, that will take a look again in our when I bring up my Linux machine. Slash opt. Slash opt is used for optional add-on application. It is not the application for operating system apps like NTP, DNS. Those are the application that is actually come with the operating system. This slash opt is not used for those type of application. That is used for third-party application. Let's say if you are installing, let's say, Oracle or some other kind of application or SAP, those are applications usually and most of the time are installed in slash opt. Slash proc is the directory that is used and create files for all the running processes. Please remember, when you shut down your Linux operating system, there will be nothing in slash proc. It will be empty. So the kernel, which I will explain to you later on what kernel is, but there is a program kernel in Linux that actually creates all these files for all the running programs in that directory. Once system shuts down, all those files go away. Lib, which is now pointing to user lib, it's a location where all the C programming library files and those files are needed for commands and applications. Meaning, if you are running a command, let's say pwd or ls, all those commands actually do have libraries attached to it that they could go and look for. And that's how these programs are run, because they are written in C and C++. If you wanted to know which command is used and which library file is used for which command, you could use this command trace -e open, like pwd is the command. The next one, we have slash temp directory, the directory that is used for temporary files. It has no significance whatsoever, but you could just, if you wanted to create a file, a temporary file that you think you will delete it later, you could create that slash temp directory. Slash home directory is used for regular users. If I creating a regular account in a Linux file system, let's say IMf&x, my home directory will be created in slash home. The next one we have is slash var. Slash var is used for system logs. Every time your operating system writes some output or some logs, all those logs or its application logs will always go into slash var. So if you are troubleshooting issues, you could always go into slash var log and other directories where you could find information about a specific application or if something going wrong with it. Then we have slash run. This is where the system's daemon starts up on very early stages, for example systemd and udev, to store temporary runtime files like PIDs or process IDs files. And again, this will go away if the system is shut down. It's just to store those process ID and keep track of it. Slash mount is used to mount external file system. If nothing is mounted on your existing file system, then you could use that slash mount to create a subdirectory and mount an external NFS file system to it. Slash media is used for CD-ROMs. If your system has a CD-ROM drive and you put a CD-ROM inside of it, then you close the tray, that CD-ROM will be mounted under slash media. If you are using a virtual machine, you map the virtual drive to your virtual machine. That virtual ISO image will be shown under slash media CD-ROM. So that's the list of all the directories that we have. That's the file system structure and its description. And now I'm quickly gonna go into my Linux system and I'll show you exactly each one of them and how it is set up. So I am logged in as who am I? I'll do root and I'll cd into slash and I will do ls-ltr or ls-l, and you see all these directories that I have just covered. So first one I have is boot, and if you notice in the boot there is these two directories, grub and grub2. If I go into grub or grub2, let's go to grub2 and do ls-ltr, you'll see there is grub configuration file. This is the file that's telling the system which operating systems to start or which version of operating systems to start. Let's go to slash root. This is the root home directory. If I just hit cd and hit enter and do pwd, this is the root home directory. There's nothing much in there. It's just its own desktop document. Probably it has, all of them are empty. Nothing is in there. Then I will go to slash etc. This is the directory, which has all the configuration file. Most of the files that you're going to see in this directory or the subdirectories, all of them would have .conf, so it means it has configuration file. Going to /bin, which is pointing to user bin, it has all the commands that we use, everyday commands, to actually talk to the operating system. Same thing with sbin. This one has all the ones that deals primarily with your file system, disks, and extending the file systems. Then we have opt. You do ls-l, and you'll see this is the one that is used for third-party application. Right now it only had like RH, which stands for Red Hat, nothing else. Then we have proc, is the one that runs all the running programs temporarily. It is not the actual file that will stay on the disk. We have next one library, and library has all the library files that are needed to run a simple command. Next one we have /temp, and in the /temp you see all these are temporary files. You delete them, you create new files, it doesn't really matter. It's just a scratch space that you could put your files on. Then you have /home. /home is for the users, like I have my user here. I have another user called Seinfeld. This is the home directory. Then the next one is /var. /var is used for all the logs that are created in your system. So if you primarily the main log is /var/log, and this is where all the logs are created. If something goes wrong with the system, this is where you have to come in. By the way, every one of these that I'm going through, I will go through again later on, and you will get more and more familiar with these file systems and its directories and all the commands that I'm running on. Then the next one we have /run. This is the one that runs the system daemons very early in the stages, and these are temporary files. The next one we have mnt. This has probably nothing because I do not have any external file system mounted on my this computer. So if I mount it, I will use a command mount to file it, and usually it gets mounted in /mounted because you have to specify it, and that's where it goes. The last one is we have /media. Is this where if you had a CD-ROM attached to your system, this is where it will go. Anyway, this is what I wanted to cover in the file system structure and description. I really hope that this lecture covers everything in terms of the file system and structure. All right, thank you. Finding files and directories. Oftentimes, system administrators or system engineers or technicians, whoever the user of Linux is, they forget where files are located. Just like in Windows, when you want to find a file, you are given a little search box on the top of the window, and you type in the search and looks for its file. It takes a very long time, of course, in Windows, but in Linux it's a lot faster and a lot easier. So there are two main commands that are used to find files and directories in your system. And the reason you need to find it, if you remember, I gave you an example of our closet. You go into our closet, you want to find a shirt that you haven't been worn for a long time, and you don't know where you have it, which drawer or which shelf. You do need to have tools to look for those files. And those tools in Linux are find and locate. So we're going to use those commands in our Linux environment and do some exercises and see how they work. So here we have our Linux machine, and let's find out where we are. We are in our home directory, and in our home directory we have files, different files in different directory. I wanted to go into Seinfeld directory, and I want to see what's inside of it. Inside of it, there are different files called Kramer, George, Jerry, Putty, Seinfeld characters, all those different files. Now, what if you go back one step and you are in home directory
And here you thought that you created a file called Kramer in this home directory, but when you come in here you don't see it. So you could either go into each directory one by one, do ls command and find it, which is very cumbersome. You don't want to do it. So you could find it by the command find. The syntax of the command is find, and where do you want to find it? You could give a relative path, which is dot, which means in this current directory. Start the search from this current directory, and this current directory is home IMf&x. So find dot dash name space double quote Kramer double quote close, and you hit enter. It's going to tell you that the Kramer file is inside of Seinfeld directory, and it's in there starting from this current directory. So this current directory has Seinfeld directory, yes, of course. And now I know I created that Kramer file in Seinfeld. Okay, perfect. Locate command works the same way. So you are in your home directory and you want to locate Kramer. This is telling you exactly where that file is. Find command is used sometimes to look for files in a very hierarchical way where you have tons of different directory, where locate is going to find you in a short searches. So if you want to find where let's say our network file is, where does it located? So if you see find slash, because you want to find that network file from the root of the file system, because you don't know where that file is starting from which directory. So you always start with root space dash name comma fcfg dash, and what is our interface? We don't know our interface, so we'll just control C and we'll do if config, and our interface is enp s0 s3. So find slash name cfg. This is the name, this is the file name of our interface, which we will cover, by the way, later. And we want to find it. Now we are getting all the permission denied. Whoa. Okay, relax. Why are we getting permission denied? Why didn't find it? Okay, I know why. And I'm sure you guys know why too. Because you do not have permissions to go into certain directories. So why? Because you are IMf&x, and who have permission to go into different directories? Tell me. Root. Yes, root has it. So you do su root to become root, put in the password. Now you run that command find slash from the beginning cfg dash enp. I always forget that, sorry. Okay, so find slash name and if cfg dash enp0s3, and now I'm gonna run it. Now it's gonna go into every directory and look for it. The first one is just a run directory. I suppose this is just the process itself, so don't worry about it, you can ignore it. Second one, you'll see it found it. It is telling me this file that you're looking for is in etc sysconfig network-script and if cfg-enp0s3. If someone asks you where is that file located, as if it's in just a general question or if it's an interview question, you know the best way to answer it is I will run my find command or locate command to find where that file is located. So practice those two commands, run man on these commands, and look for different options that you could use for these commands and see how easy it could become for you.
Navigating to file system. Of course, now you know a lot about a file system. Now we need to know how are we going to get into the file system. What are those commands that we really need to learn to actually go from one directory to another, get their file contents, and find out which directory we are in. When navigating a Unix file system, there are few important commands. Again, the number one command is cd, which stands for change directory. Second one is pwd, which is print working directory, which tells you which directory you are currently in. And the third one is ls, which stands for listing, which lists the contents of your directory or folder. cd stands for change directory, pd stands for print working directory, and ls stands for list. Now let's look at the real example. I'm going to start with Windows because the reason I compare Windows and Linux all the time is because it will be a lot easier for every one of you to really understand the concept behind it, because we actually work on Windows almost every day and we scroll through everything and we click through everything and we don't really realize how experts we have become. So if you really need to know Linux, there should be some comparison with Windows that I will be doing. So let's look at example of Windows. Okay, so I have the C drive, which in Linux is, what is the C drive for Linux is slash. When I wanted to go into this C drive, I will just do double click and the folder comes up. And when I wanted to go into program files, I'll do double click and the folders comes up and so on. And if I wanted to go into Windows directory, I'll just double click. In Linux, let's go to a Linux machine. Remember our Linux machine. The first thing I want you to do, of course, is become root, meaning you are as yourself right now. How do you know you are yourself? Is because first you see here on your prompt, you'll see your name. If you just still wanted to know your name, you could just type who am I, and you'll see your username. When you become root, you have to type su, which means switch user, and just dash, hit enter, put in your password. Okay, so you have this message that will tell you the last time you became root was this date, this time, and so on. Anyway, um, let's do clear, as clear is it's only going to clear the screen. I just want to make this a little bigger so it'll be easier to see. Okay, so now when you are in a directory, how do you know where you are? In Windows, you could tell, right? You could tell you are in computer local drive in Windows. Right, it's up right here. But in Linux, you don't know. So the command that you're going to need is pwd. This is what's going to tell you that you are in this directory. If you wanted to go into a different directory, let's say you wanted to go to slash, which is slash. Slash is the primary or the parent directory of all the directories. So you type cd, which stands for, again, change directory space slash. You hit enter. Once you hit enter, how do you know you are in that directory? Again, you type pwd and it will tell you you are in slash directory. Now what's inside of this directory? We need to see that. In order to see that, you have to type ls option L, and it will tell you all the listings of the directory and folders and files that are inside of this directory. In Linux, in Windows, when you are my computer, you're double clicking on a folder. Let's say you're clicking on program files. Let me just move this around. And you click on any other folder, let's say Dell. So you notice you just double clicking it and it is taking you to that directory. In Linux, you don't have that. You don't have clicking. So what you need to do is you need to do cd. So you are already, what directory you are in? You are in root, and let's say if you wanted to go to a directory called, let's say boot. So cd boot, boot. And there's you are in boot. Now let's say in this example you want to come here. You already see the listing of what's inside. How do I know the listing in Linux? Well, you have to run a command. It's not that easy. There you go. It tells you this is what you have inside. By the way, some of the lines are chopped up a little, so I'm just gonna make this a little more bigger. Okay, so you're gonna see anything that starts with dash right here, it means it's a file. Anything that starts with D, it means it's a directory or a folder. I wanted to go back to my root directory, but before I go back, I wanted to know where I am. So the command is pwd. We are in boot. And I want to go to slash root again. There are two ways you could do. You could do either cd slash, and will take you to slash directory, or you could do cd dot dot, which is will take you one step back, one directory back. In Windows, how do you do that? In Windows, you could simply just do backslash. You could simply press the back button, and there you go. You have all that. Also, in Windows, you notice you are when you double click once, it is doing three things for you. You double click once, that is doing CD for you. Then automatically it's listing all the directories inside, so it's doing ls for you already. And now, how do you know which directory you are in? Right here on top, that's how it tells you which directory you are in. So it's in Windows, you're doing three things in one shot. In Linux, you actually have to use all three commands one by one to see the same thing as you wanted to see in Windows. So let's say if I wanted to go in etc and I wanted to go into another directory, which is etc sysconfig. So I am two directories in. How do I know? pwd parent working directory. It tells you are in etc sysconfig. Now, if I wanted to go back to etc directory, what I would do, cd dot dot, and confirm if you are in etc directory, you do pwd, and there you go. What if you wanted to go one step back again? cd dot dot, and where you are in root. There you go. What happened if you just type cd and hit enter? Okay, it did work because we got our prompt back. We didn't get any error. But which directory are we in? We are in, let's check. We are in slash root. Why? Because we are who we are. Who am I? We are root. We are logged in as root. And root directory is slash root. So everyone, this first three commands that you really need to learn in order to navigate the file system. Without these three commands, you cannot do anything in Linux. So what are the three commands really quickly? First one is cd. Let's go to home. Let's say, what's inside the home? Let's type ls-l. You forgot which directory you are in? Just type pwd. You are in home. If you want to go to a different directory, let's say you want to go to, I wanted to see what's inside of slash. So I will type slash, and what's inside of it? ls-l. These are the directories. I wanted to go into each of these directories and find out what's inside of it. Let's see, I want to go to war. I hit enter. What's inside of the war? These are these directories, different type of directories. I wanted to go to a file, a log directory right here. So I'll do cd log. What's inside of log? I have to do ls-l again. These are the files and directories inside of log directory. Okay. All right. I forgot where I am. pwd var log. All right. I want to go back to slash directory. You could do dot dot, then dot dot again, or you could just do simply cd slash. And now where you are in slash. Alright, so this concludes our lesson, and I hope you have pretty much a very good idea about cd, ls, and pwd commands. As a homework, I would strongly recommend you to log into your Linux machine, go to cd slash, then ls-l, and I want you to go into each of these directories one by one, subdirectories, come back to from a directory, find out the listing of the directory, and then you will find out exactly how to navigate a system.
In this lesson, we're going to cover the directory listing attributes. When you do ls within a directory, so you cd into a directory and you do ls, and you're going to only see the directories inside. But when you do ls minus l or ltr or other options within that with the ls command, you're going to see different fields that's going to output on your screen. The first field is the type of the file. So if any file that begins with D, it is a directory. Any file that begins with L, it's a link. And any file that does not have anything on it, it's just a regular file. So the first field tells you about the type. The second field tells you about the number of links it has, or hard links that attach to that directory. The third one, it tells you the owner of the directory, who owns it. The fourth one tells you the group of that directory, which group owns that directory, and then the size of the directory or file, the month, the day, the time, and the name. So these are the basic attributes when you do ls-l. Now so let's go to our Linux server and see how it looks in our Linux server. Right click, open terminal. Okay. Which directory are you in? Let's do pwd, and I am in my directory. So let's go to /home directory. Just slash directory, which is the parent directory, and then we'll do ls-l. Here you'll see the first column right here tells you what type of file it is. Second one, how many links, owner of group owner, the size, the month, date, time, and the name. So this is what you should need to know whenever you're doing ls, because if you are trying to do cd to a file, let's say we have this file, test file. If you do test, if you're trying to get into this file, it will tell you it's not a directory because it's a file. That's how you should know whether you are able to get into a file or not. So if you go into, let's say, cd/user, there you go, you are in /user directory because it's a directory. So that's how you find out whether a file is a directory or a link or just a regular file.
File system paths. Here we will talk about how we could navigate the file system through the absolute path or relative path. So basically there are two paths to navigate a file system. The first one is the absolute path, and the second one is the relative path. An absolute path always begins with a slash. This indicates that the path starts at the root directory. An example of an absolute path is if you are going to go into the Samba directory, which is in var log directory. It has two directories above it, so you could start with cd/var/log and /samba. Will take you directly to a Samba folder. By the way, this is just an example that I picked up for to make you understand about the absolute path. Then we have the relative path, which does not begin with slash. It identifies a location relative to your current position. An example of relative path is you cd into /var. Once you are already in var, you could just do cd logs. Now you notice we are not using /log because we are already in var directory, and we could just simply go into cd log, and then from there we could cd into Samba. Again, here we are not using slash log or slash samba because they do not begin with slash. They are within the slash var directory. So let's look at the example. Okay, so first thing you have to do is become root user, su dash. You put in a password. Now, if you wanted to go directly to the Samba folder, you could just go cd slash var slash log slash Samba. Where are you? You are in var log Samba. Now, if you notice, if you go through the relative path, which means let's go to slash, we are in root directory slash directory. And if you want to go to the var directory, you could simply do var, or you could also do var. Once you're in this directory, and if you try to do at this point, if you try to do cd slash log, it's not going to find it because what you're trying to tell the operating system that there is a log directory within the slash directory, which is not the case. So how are we going to get into the log is by simply cd log. And if you do pwd, you will see you are in var log. Now, if you wanted to go into one more directory, which is Samba, what command would you run? cd slash Samba or cd Samba? Well, you will run cd Samba and it will take you to the Samba directory. When you do pwd, it will tell you you are in var slash log slash Samba directory. So this is the main difference between the absolute path and the relative path. And the reason you use these two different paths is because if you already know the directory where you want to go in, you don't have to go into one directory, then the second, third, or fourth. You could directly go into the path of the directory, in our case, which is again var slash log slash Samba. And there you are. And for example, if you want to go to another directory, let's say we're going to cd etc sysconfig and network scripts, you could just do that and it will take you there. By the way, if you hit tab, it will auto-complete your directory if it exists in there. Now, which directory you are in? You are in etc sysconfig network scripts. If you want to get out of from one directory, you do cd dot dot. Where are you? You are in etc sysconfig. You want to go one step back, you do cd dot dot, and you are in etc. If you want to go one more directory out, you do cd dot dot, and you are into slash directory. Again, the root directory, the main parent directory. So that's what this lecture is about, to tell you the difference between the absolute path and relative path.
Changing password. In this lesson, we will cover how you could change the user password. Either you are root and you force the user to change the password when the first time you log in, or if you are just yourself and you want to change your own password. You should change your initial password as soon as you log in. Now, this is when your account is created for the first time in the system and you log in with a password that's been given to you. Or sometimes what happens is a password is not given to you. You would just log in with your username and it will automatically prompt you to put in a new password. To change a password, the command is password followed by the user ID. The password is not the entire word, it's just PASSWD. It does not have O and R in it. So it's password space user ID. And user ID in my case is IMf&x. When you hit enter, it will ask you for your old password or your existing password that you have. You provide that password. The next thing it will ask you is to put in your new password. You input your new password, it will reconfirm the new password for it. So it will ask you retype your new password. The reason it asks for the second time is because if you have made a mistake in your earlier entry of adding new password, it will match to confirm that you have added the right password. Now, if you just type PASSWD while you are root, remember it will change your root password. If you type PASSWD followed by user ID, then it will change the password of that user. So let's log into our Linux machine through console and see how we could change our user password. Here we have our Linux machine console. I'll just do a right click and open the terminal. I always like to make this terminal a little bigger, make the window a little bigger. I could just simply drag and drop, or I could simply maximize it by clicking here. Anyway, let's get into our changing password. So when I type password followed by my user ID, it says only root can specify a username. So only root has the right to specify the username. I'm not root, I'm being myself. Who am I? Or who am I? I'm myself. So all I would do is just put in just password command, not the username. I would hit enter, and now it's asking me to change or to provide my current password. So I'm gonna put in my current password. Now it's asking me for a new password. Now remember, I'm gonna put in, this time I'm just gonna put in 1 2 3 4, and let's say what it says. It says the password is shorter than 8 characters. So let's put in 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, and it says password fails the dictionary check. So now Unix, or most of the operating system nowadays, have this check where it looks for a dictionary and see if that password exists, or see if that word exists or not. So make sure you change the password to something that does not go with the dictionary. So I'm gonna change it to something different. There you go. See, it took it. I'm gonna reconfirm it. And password all authentication tokens updated successfully. So that's this command to change the password, and I want you to try that command. Try a couple of different types, different ways. Become root and change your password by typing password IFSOL or your username, and then log in as yourself and try that command. Wildcards. What are wildcards? Just as its name says, they are wild cards, meaning if you play cards, and in poker or blackjack, they do pick a card like a 10 or 9, whatever the card, and you could match it to any of the card to make your flash, trail, or whatever that you like. So that is kind of a wild card. So just like that, in Linux we use wild cards to get the output that we are looking for. A wild card is a character. Now this is a definition right from the Linux dictionary that can be used as a substitute from any of a class of characters in a search. So there are many wildcards, but the most basic ones I have listed here. There are 3. The first one is the one I use most of the time, is asterisk, which is also referred to as a star. A star represents 0 or more characters, anything that matches with that star placeholder. We'll look into that in a moment when we actually use the star wildcard in our Linux machine. Then we have question mark, represents a single character. So if you have a file name text and you are looking for any files that has the word text, and you could use TE instead of X, you could just put question mark in there and then T. That means whichever files that had TE, doesn't matter what's inside of it, the X and the last letter is T, then it will work. The third one we have brackets, which represents a range of characters. So it's better we look at it in the Linux machine to understand them more deeply. I'm going to bring up my machine real quick. Where did it go? Right here. I'm logged in, always as myself. And I'm in my home directory, of course. Now, right now, these are the files and directories exist in my home directory. I want to create 9 files that has a name, let's say ABCD1 and XYZ. And then same thing, instead of 1, it just increments the number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I could do this, touch ABCD1 XYZ one time, then hit up arrow key again, change 1 to 2, change 2 to 3, and keep going. But don't you think it's cumbersome and tedious? It is, right? So we use wildcard to perform that task because we're going to create 9 files. So it's just a practice that we are doing for 9 files. Trust me, in corporate environment, you're probably going to have to create like thousands of files. What you going to do? You're going to just hit up arrow key or type it 1,000 times? No, that's not productive. So then what do? We use wildcards. So first of all, I'm going to remove these files one by one. Again, I could remove it with wildcard as well, but let's create it first, then I'll show you how I could remove it. So I have 2 left. Now I could use a wildcard to remove both in one shot. Remove ABC wildcard. So what is telling it? Remove everything that has a file name that starts with ABC, and whatever that comes afterward, you don't care, just remove it. I hit enter, that's my LTR, and you'll see all those 2 files are gone. Now I'm going to create 9 files, and to create 9 files, I'll use the command touch. As you know, the touch is the command to use. And then there is a wildcard, another wildcard that's called curly braces. So I was creating file ABCD curly braces 1.9 because I'm going to create 9 files. So this curly braces 1.9 is telling you create 9 files that has digit 1 through 9 and dash XYZ. When I run this command, what do you think that I will have listed in my home directory? I will have 9 files. Right here at the bottom, you'll see I have 9 files. Awesome, right? This is what you wanted to do. It is much more faster to do in the wildcard as opposed to typing one by one. So let's use the asterisk. What I just want to list every file name that starts with ABC. You do ABC asterisk, and you will have all the files that starts with ABC. I want to remove every file that starts with ABC. You could remove one by one ABCD1 and so on and so forth. Again, very cumbersome. Don't do it. You're a system administrator. You are smart folks. You don't want to use the commands one by one. What you would use? You'll use a wildcard. So you'll do ABCD or AB and do asterisk. The reason I picked the 4 letters is because if I just pick A and hit asterisk, it will also remove any other files in my home directory that starts with A, and which I don't want it to do it. Right now, I don't have any files. So let's say if I create a file, touch A. So now I have all the files and A. So I just want to confirm I don't have A, so I don't delete any file accidentally. So yes, I don't have any file that begins with A other than these. So if I just do remove A asterisk, it will remove all the files that starts with A. Let's check it. See, all those files are gone. Isn't that cool? Yes, it is. I love this asterisk because I use it all the time. I'm going to recreate those files again by hitting up arrow key. That will return my last ran command. Just confirm they are there. Now what if I wanted to remove everything that ends with XYZ? Same way, remove, but this time we'll put asterisk in front of XYZ. Hit enter, boom, all gone. Awesome. I'm gonna recreate it just for the exercise of this lesson. It created 9 files. Now we'll move on to the next wildcard, which is the question mark. The next question mark is telling it ls minus l question mark b c d asterisk. Okay, what am I asking here? I'm asking is give me all the files that has whatever the character is the first, as long as the other characters has B, C, D, and whatever comes afterwards. These are the matching files because whatever the first character is, whether it's A or not, I don't care. I just want to make sure I will get the listing of the files that has B, C, D in it and after the A. So that's how you use the question mark. And the last one we have brackets. Bracket is going to tell me that give me anything that has C or D letter in a file. It's just that simple. Either C, either D, either F, or this and that. So you put all that stuff that you're looking for inside of the bracket and you will have all those files you see here. And it went so fast, so I'm going to put it in more. The output, I want to see one page at a time. And you'll see it gave me, and it has A, it has B. Every file that I'm getting either has A or B, either has A or B. So that's how it works. That's how the wildcard works. Again, now I want to get rid of all the files that has X and Y in it. Awesome. I have my wildcard. I'm not going to go and delete one by one. So this command is telling the shell that go ahead and please delete all the files that has X and Y in it. And X and Y has to be together, of course. So we do have these matching files, X, Y, and it will go ahead and delete it. And all of them are gone. So wildcard not necessarily is used just with ls or remove. You could use it with any of the commands we have. You could use it with all the commands we have learned so far. Try it with different commands. If it doesn't work, that's okay. Go online, Google it, and try wildcard examples. Try them, just get familiar with them. This will help you a lot in your job, I promise you.